This is Dave. Today we're talking with Jason Follas.
Hi, Dave.
And how you doing?
Good.
Good to see you, man.
Good to see you again.
And Jason is an expert on SQL Server 2008 spatial data. This is a new data type from the new version of SQL Server.
It is.
Right?
It's a new data type from SQL Server. So it's a data type, and it's a first-class citizen data type. So it's much like an integer or a string would be, where you can have a variable that's of a type that is spatial data, or you can have a field in a database table that is of this type. Or what's more interesting as a .NET developer is that you can take this type out of the .NET or out of the SQL Server, because it is just a SQL CLR data type, and you can use it in your .NET applications without a SQL Server attached.
Oh, really?
Yes.
So I can declare variables of type spatial data type?
Well, there's two data types in particular. We group them together as spatial because that's what they represent.
Okay.
But there's one data type that most people probably would relate with instantly, and that's the geography data type, and that's representing the Earth as a sphere or locations on the Earth is what you would represent with that. So your GPS system would use the geography data type.
Right.
And there's another data type which is the flat Earth model. So just like you can't take the skin off of an orange and flatten it out without tearing the skin,
Okay.
you can take a picture of an orange though, and that would be a flat 2D picture. So a geometry data type, which is the second type, is a projected version of maybe a geography. So you're talking about a projection there, and that's something that people might have a hard time getting their head around. Is that
Sure.
Geometry is a projection? It's strictly 2D. If you go all the way to the one side, you'll never wrap around to the other side. Whereas geography is a 3D type model. If you walk around one side, you'll circle around and eventually wind up where you started.
I've seen this concept before. So the poles on a flat model are represented as a line, when in fact they're actually a point on a globe. So that causes some distortion, right? So your measurements would be off if you try to do
It sure does, but you have to consider what you're using the data types for.
Okay.
If I'm trying to represent points on the Earth, maybe where my customers reside, or zip code boundaries or something like that, and I'm confusing myself here, geography would be the appropriate data type to use there. If I'm maybe representing a warehouse location and I want to identify storage bays within my warehouse, a warehouse is a natural use case for the geometry type, because that's already a flat. You're starting with a base map, which is a flat diagram of your warehouse. So it makes perfect sense just to use your own unit of measures when working with that flat model.
And a lot of them just met problems of scale. If you're dealing with the distance from London to New York, you have to deal with geography, right?
Well, not necessarily even that, because we can have a flat map that would have both London and New York on it, and we commonly see that. If you open up Visual Earth or Google Maps or whatever on your browser, you're looking at a flat representation of that. However, if you draw a straight line from New York to London, on a flat map, that straight line is very flat. But if you drew that same straight line on a globe, let's say, and then looked at it, that would actually be a curved line. And the actual straight path on a globe, when you project it back to the flat map, would look curved.
I see. Okay.
So there's distortion, and you have to use the right model for the data, because the distance when calculated using flat Earth is going to be different than the distance calculated using round Earth models.
Understood. So what, are you aware of real-world applications that are using this data type?
Personally, no. I can't cite any real-world applications that are using it.
Where would you see this being used?
Well, wherever you need to do some spatial type querying. So the most common one that I can think of probably would be customer locations within a sales territory, that type of information. Perhaps even getting into, there's a type of certification that you can have done for a building. So if you're an architect or a builder, you might want your builder to be LEED certified. And there's one, LEED certification assigns different points to your construction site based on different criteria. And one of the criteria that I found interesting was using resources that were harvested and processed within a certain radius of the job site. So there's a perfect example. If you have the locations of all of your mines and quarries or forests or whatever, and then the processing plants, and you can determine that your job site is within 500 miles of those discrete points, then you can earn certain points towards your construction.
Okay, great.
So there's an example.
Sounds pretty cool.
All right.
Jason, thanks so much for talking with us.
Thank you.